My name is Daniel and I'm 28 years old. I have a fraternal twin brother named Gavin. We were kind of close growing up. More like normal siblings. I always hear from other twins how they are super close and always were from birth. That wasn't us, but we also didn't hate each other. It had been all good growing up, but things started to change in the 6th grade. We didn't hang out much because while my interests matured, his kind of stayed the same. I got really into sports and shifted my friends group into the guys that also played sports. We also hung out with the girls a lot more often. Gavin just kind of kept hanging out with the same guys that still worship superheroes, anime, and spent all their time playing these weird board games or video games. I mean, their whole group only had like one heavy-set girl in it. By 7th grade, the differences between us really grew. I grew a lot, especially compared to Gavin. I don't know what he looks like today, but when we graduated high school, he was only 5 feet 8 inches and maybe 140 pounds. I was 6 feet 2 inches and around 190, all muscle. I could bench press 245 pounds and my coach timed my 40-yard dash at 4.5 seconds. Only a couple of the linemen on the team could bench more than me and I was the fastest guy. That's how I ended up starting varsity as a sophomore. I doubt Gavin could do so much as a pull-up back then. We were twins, but more like that movie with Arnold and the short guy. I always wish we would have been more like Van Damme and his twin brother from that one movie, but that just didn't happen. Anyway, back to 7th grade. Now I feel bad for what happened during those years, but I was just a dumb kid back then and a lot of what I did was just normal kid stuff. I admit I did pick on Gavin, but it was mostly just joking around. A few things went too far, but I apologized and got in trouble for those things. It was all typical middle school stuff. My buddies and I would call him names sometimes or do little pranks. Like this one time, this guy passed out at a party and we pissed in his shoes. It was fucking hilarious. We were pretty good pranksters, but it was just ball busting, nothing cruel. Me and the guys did stuff like that to each other all the time. Gavin always got upset though, and being 13, 14 years old, I didn't really get it back then. My parents grounded me a few times for that, usually after Gavin told someone at school and they'd call home. That didn't stop me though, and that went on all the way up to graduation. We just did dumb kid stuff. I just didn't realize how much it bothered him at the time. We grew more and more apart through high school. Once we could drive, he did pretty good at avoiding me. My friends and I still gave him shit here and there, but it wasn't anything too serious, usually just when we wanted a good laugh or something. Then I did the thing. I know this was bad of me, but at the time it just felt like a challenge. Senior year, Gavin got himself a girlfriend, Renee. They dated that whole year. Back then I thought she was pretty average. Well, prom rolled around and they went together. Seeing her really dressed up and everything, she looked better than average. That night none of us really said anything because we had our own dates and stuff we were focused on. It was the next weekend when my friends and I were hanging around. We drank 19 beers and half a fifth of Jose Cuervo, no limes, that night while playing Madden. Then Joe said that Gavin's girlfriend was actually kind of hot. We gave him a little shit at first, but then he said, "Yeah, I mean, you saw her at prom. Yeah, she's still got a dog face, but her body looked pretty good." We were just guy talking when Joe said, "Dude, you should totally sleep with her." I laughed and was like, WTF. But Joe was like, "Yeah, man, that would be like the ultimate burn. It would be hilarious. Fuck, I'll give you a $100 if you can pull it off before graduation." The rest of the night played on, but I was locked in on getting that $100. It gave me about 4 weeks to pull it off. I started out just texting. My brother didn't have any experience at all with girls prior to Renee. I had been pretty good with the girls all through middle school and high school. I played it right, just being friendly and flirty. She kept saying she shouldn't be texting me, but she didn't stop. She did not have a face to die for. So thinking back, I think she liked the attention from one of the hot guys at school. Eventually, I got out of her that her and Gavin had already had sex a couple times, prom being their first time. I had been worried that she was a virgin, which would have made getting her to give it up way harder. I used this as my angle and ramped up our messaging. especially after she admitted that her first few times with him hadn't been anything great. It was a few days before graduation. I knew Gavin had to work that night. I used that chance to invite Renee out, and she accepted. I played the night right with her, and eventually we ended up at my best spot for car sex. She really wasn't apprehensive. I kept selling myself as the superior twin, which I was. We ended up having sex in my car. I had won the bet, but I didn't want Joe backing out of paying me the $100, so I took a snap video when I was hitting it from behind. She didn't even know. I know that was bad, but really at the time I just didn't want Joe to try and go back on his deal. I didn't do it to be a creep or anything. I took Renee back home. It wasn't real late, like 11 p.m. or so. Gavin got off around then. I went to Joe's to collect and showed him the proof. A few of the other guys were over as well, which was weird for a Wednesday, but we had been out of school since the prior Friday and had been partying a little more than usual. He gave me the $100, and I told the guys how I pulled it off. That's when Joe said, "Man, send that shit to Gavin." I don't know why, but at no point did it cross my mind that this would be a bad idea. I just said, "Yeah. Should I?" All the guys were like, "Fuck yeah." Just like that, I sent it to him. We all gathered around the phone to get his message back. Nothing came. I ended up staying over at Joe's that night. I woke up the next morning and was getting bombarded with messages from my mother. She was pissed. I got in the most trouble I have ever gotten in. My mom said that Gavin just moved out. She said that he told them what I had done, that he was tired of me being an asshole to him all the time, and wasn't going to live here anymore. Sure, it was a total dick move, but if you think about it, I kind of did him a favor. My mother also said that for some reason Gavin was blaming her and our dad for all this, and said they never do anything about me. Which we all know wasn't true. I got in trouble all the time. Well, that was 10 years ago. We did find out from some people who knew Gavin that he went into the military. We just got an update last year that he was out, and was living in Washington State. That's when I first tried to get a hold of him. My parents have been trying to get a hold of him since the day he moved out. He will not respond to anything. I just am not sure what I should do. I've told a few people about this over the years and they say I should apologize now, but how can I do that when he won't talk to any of us? 10 years ago my brother went out of his way to get my then girlfriend to cheat with him. I had already planned on going no contact with my brother before this happened. My parents had not been great through our years. I intended to go low contact with them as well, but not completely cut them off. That was until the morning after that night. I had been with my girlfriend since the first week of our senior year of high school. I had always had a lot of anxiety built around the opposite sex. I just didn't know how to talk to girls. There was only one girl in our friends group, and she dated our other friend until they were 25. To the other four of us, she was just one of the guys. When I found out that Renee liked me, at first I didn't know what to do. So, I just went for it. I started messaging her on Snap. I must have done better than I thought because we were officially boyfriend and girlfriend a week later. It was a fun senior year. Renee and I went to all the dances together. She was in the band, so I actually went to some of the football games and basketball games that year. I did not enjoy being there. My asshole brother was always playing, and I preferred to stay away from him as much as possible. Still, it was worth it to see her. Prom rolled around and I was excited. We had begun with "Oh I Love Yous" months earlier, but had not gone all the way yet. Renee was not a virgin that night, but I was. She had a secret relationship with another guy in the band for 2 years prior to our senior year. It had ended over the summer. They both had somewhat strict religious families. I remember Renee wasn't allowed to date until she was 18 by their rules, so to her parents I was her first ever boyfriend. Her and that other guy had done really well keeping it a secret from basically everyone. That didn't really bother me, maybe a little at the time, but I was young. We had our first time on prom night. That kept up for the next 2 weeks. A week or so after prom I noticed she seemed a little distracted when we hung out. It was also less often. Our conversations were brief when we would message. I remember I was freaking out thinking she was going to break up with me. That night I had to work. I got off and went home. All was fine. I got home and jumped on WoW with a few friends. Then the snap from Daniel came through. It was a 4-second video of him having sex with Renee. I couldn't see her face in the video, but I knew it was her. The caption on the vid said, "I win again." I was completely heartbroken at the time. I cried that night and got no sleep. When I woke up in the morning, my mother could tell something was wrong. I told her what happened against my better judgment. They had never done anything about Daniel, not in the 5 or 6 years that he was torturing me. I thought maybe this would be it, maybe they would actually do something. I was disappointed as usual. Not just disappointed though, I lashed out for the first time. My mother had said that Daniel was wrong for doing what he did, but that I should be thanking him for exposing that little slut. I lost it. I knew he did this on purpose. My parents weren't going to do anything about it. What were they going to do? He was 18 now and about to graduate. All these years their idea of doing something was taking away his car keys for a week, or not letting him go out one weekend. They always said that he was grounded 4 months, but that never lasted. They always gave in and let him off the hook. Him and his asshole friends had been calling me gay, and telling everyone I was gay since the 7th grade. They didn't even call me Gavin, they called me Gavin. They would print out pictures of gay porn and put it in my backpack, my locker, my folders, whatever they could, and always in a way so it would fall out. Freshman year they found some picture of a micropenis and went around telling everyone it was me. These guys were total assholes, and I was tired of it. I knew right then that they were never going to address the issue. They would do some sort of half-assed punishment, not even follow through all the way on that, and pretend like nothing was wrong. I was done. I packed a few bags. I had bought my car myself, unlike Daniel, so I loaded it up and left that day. My parents had offered to buy my car when I turned 17 and I declined. I didn't want a car held over me, and on that day my thinking paid off. Renee tried messaging me that day as well, but I blocked her immediately, never speaking to her again. I left that day from my parents' house and have been no contact since. I didn't even attend my high school graduation ceremony. My friend Chris had graduated early back in December and gotten himself a job the next town over. He let me crash with him for a few weeks until my basic training began. I had joined the National Guard without telling my parents. I got shipped off to Georgia for 10 weeks, then to Alabama to begin my training as an air traffic controller. My time in the National Guard was good for me and ended 2 years ago. I now live in Seattle and work as an air traffic controller. My parents have sporadically tried to get in touch with me over the years. I never respond, and block any new means they attempt. My brother recently started reaching out, and I treat him the same. I don't know what they want from me, probably money, but they won't get anything out of me. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, it really helps the channel grow. And if you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss any future uploads.